Good afternoon, everyone. It is Jamie here at Tanglewood Nature Center. And today, as you can see, I have a couple different animals for you. These are both two leopard geckos. And I have another gecko I'm going to show you also. But I'm going to talk to you guys about these two first. So this is Zoe and Captain. And Zoe is this one over here. She's the female. You can see that she is a little bit smaller, and then the larger one is Captain. And this is typical for leopard geckos. The males are usually a little bit bigger. And these two are not housed together at Tanglewood. So as far as I've been here, this is the first time they've kind of been in a little enclosure together. So I'm going to keep a close eye on them. Now, if you have them as pets, typically the male and a female can be in an enclosure together, but two males, if they were in an enclosure together, they would be more likely to fight. But it's just easier for us to monitor their food and water intake when they're separate, and also we're not trying to have these guys reproduce. There's lots of leopard geckos out there, so that's unnecessary for us to do. So a little bit about these guys. These leopard geckos are from the areas of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and northwest India. It's really rocky and dry grassland and desert areas that they live in there. So they're really well adapted for those types of areas. It's pretty warm there, but it does get down to, sometimes it can get down to like 50 degrees at nighttime. And when that happens, these guys will spend more time underground in a semi-hibernation state called brumation, and they'll actually live on the extra fat reserves that they store in their tails. So you can see how they got a pretty thick tail. So they spend a lot of time in those burrows or the shaded areas during the day when it's hot too, and then they'll be more active at dawn or dusk when it's not so hot outside. In captivity and here at Tanglewood, we feed them lots of different insects. In the wild, they would be, they're insectivores. So we feed them crickets or dubia roaches, sometimes mealworms. And it's very important also that we dust those insects with calcium powder. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I think Zoe's trying to escape over here. Let me get her more over here. All right, there you go. All right. So, and then in the wild, when they can't find a lot of food, they'll rely on the excess fat that's stored in their tails. Adult females are typically 18 to 20 centimeters, and they usually weigh about 50 to 70 grams. And then males are about 20 to 28 centimeters, and they weigh about 60 to 80 grams. And then, of course, you can still see the difference here. He's a pretty good bit bigger than she is. Another way, so like if you're looking at leopard geckos and you want to know if it's a male or a female, and if you don't have another one to compare it to, and you're not sure like with the size, it's also very obvious to tell which ones are males. They have these two bumps underneath. Let me see if I can bring him around. Up, he's going to be kind of wiggly. So anyways, underneath, back in this area between their legs, they have two bumps back there if it's a male, so it's pretty easy to tell if it's an adult. It'll be harder to see if it's a young one. You can also see they got these bumps on there. I wish you guys could, well, maybe one day you'll be able to come by and see these guys and actually feel the bumps on their skin. It's pretty cool to feel. This texture kind of helps protect them in the rugged terrain where they live. They do shed their skin, so something that's really cool about these geckos is when they shed their skin, they actually eat it. And they think that they do that just because it has added like nutrients in it that they can reabsorb into their body by eating it. So it's kind of weird but kind of cool at the same time. Something that's different with the other gecko I'm going to show you in a second. I've actually never seen him eat his skin. He always leaves it in there, but these guys always eat their skin after they shed it. And the adults shed about once a month. So again, these guys are, since they're reptiles, they're ectothermic. So they're absorbing a lot of heat during the day, so they can have extra energy to save up for at nighttime when they're hunting and looking for their food. Let me see. What are you guys looking at? Let me see. Oh, pick her up and see if you can see her ears. It's kind of cool to see their ears on the side of their head. They're very wiggly today. Can you kind of see? They got 2 holes on the side of their head. I don't want to drop you. Come here. Let me see if you'll be a little bit more still. Oh, it's kind of hard to see on here. But anyways, if you do notice that they have 2 holes on the side of their heads, that's actually where their ears are. So that's pretty cool. Another thing about these geckos is they have eyelids. So a lot of the other geckos actually do not have eyelids that move. These guys do. Another thing that makes them different from other geckos is they don't have sticky feet. So they actually can't climb up like smooth surfaces like some other geckos can. These guys cannot do that. They have claws, so they can navigate their terrain, and they're unable to climb up like the side of their enclosure. Something that's pretty cool is they have about 100 teeth, and they replace those teeth every 3 to 4 months. That's something that's pretty cool about them. And I think I mentioned briefly their tails. So if you notice their tail, it's kind of the same shape as like their body is. So they're actually able to detach their tails. So if a predator is after them, they can detach that tail, and that tail will still move for up to 30 minutes afterwards, and that'll give the leopard gecko time to get away from the predator. And they can regrow their tail, but it won't look the same. So it's not something that that's good for them to do. It's not something they can do frequently. And plus, it also causes some stress on them because that's like their fat reserves. So then they have to really make sure that they're getting enough food. So when thinking about getting these guys as a pet for kids, that's something to think about. If it's a child that's too young or doesn't understand that they can't grab at the gecko, that's something to consider, because you don't want them to grab their tail and their tail to fall off. If you can prevent it, you want to prevent that. Let's see. Also, let me see. The females, when they lay eggs, they lay 6 to 8 clutches. So that's just what the group of eggs is called. And each clutch will consist of around 2 eggs. And it takes typically 35 to 89 days. So I thought that was interesting that it has such a wide window there for the eggs to hatch. And the babies have what's called an egg tooth. So it's a little, it's on the tip of their snout. It helps them break through the eggshell. And then that will fall off within a couple of days after they've hatched. Some things to consider also when getting these guys as a pet, some kind of like health issues that you need to be aware of is they could develop metabolic bone disease. And that is actually something that happens quite frequently with these guys. And it's something that's pretty easy to prevent as you're giving them the calcium supplement on their food. It's pretty easy to make sure it doesn't happen. But if it does happen, it could cause a lot of issues with how their bones develop, and they could get like locked in place, and it could really hinder their mobility. So it's something you want to be really careful about and make sure that you're giving them the right stuff on their food. Let me see if I can get closer for you guys. And the other thing is stuck shed. So that's really important to make sure that you have the humidity levels correct. Because I don't know if you guys can see, their toes are so tiny. So it's really easy for their shed to get stuck on there. And you have to be really careful too. You can't just pull it off because you could injure them. So you want to really watch and try to make sure that if they do have stuck shed, you try to very carefully get it off of there. Uh-oh, let me fix this. All right, there you go. More questions? All right, sorry guys, I think I lost you there for a second. All right, so I am gonna get the next gecko out for you guys, but since it's another male gecko, and since he's never been with another gecko as far as I know, and he's a different type of gecko. I'm gonna put him back, or put these two back, so I can get the other. All right, sorry. Try to post some good pictures afterwards, especially of the leopard gecko's eyes. I think that's like one of my favorite things about them. But yeah, Freddy's pretty cool too. He's a cool gecko. So if you guys have any questions about the fat-tailed gecko or the leopard gecko, make sure you just leave those questions in the comments, and I'll go. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. It's beautiful outside, so make sure you get out there and enjoy some fresh air, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.